Creighton's a good team. Jim does a great job. They're always a tough team to play, and you try to get your team prepared for what they're going to get. And we haven't beaten them in Chicago, I think, since 2018. And we've been beating them there. They've been beating us here. And again, we didn't make defensive stops when we needed to. We made way too many layups. And that's really the story of the basketball game. Their kids were tougher than our kids by a long shot. I'm sorry, their young women were tougher than our young woman by a long shot.
Mm-hmm. Coach, we've talked about consistency before.
I really can't understand.
We've talked about consistency before. How did you?
I still can't understand you. I mean, no. I mean, just.
How did you feel about the team's play per quarter?
Teams play what?
Per quarter.
I evaluate the play over the course of the game, and the play over the course of the game was defensively inconsistent, and then offensively, you get your good shots. When you're going to have a 5 for 20 night, you better understand and share the ball and get some other people involved and defend. So we got shots that people make, but we didn't make them. So when you don't make shots, you have to defend and you have to rebound.
And what did you feel were some of the bright spots in the game today?
The what?
Some of the bright spots.
The bright spots? Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you do this and you have a job to do individually and collectively, which has a result at the end of it. All right, I digress here, but I got a great friend of mine that's a great lawyer in Chicago, and he loves to tell me about every win he has, every settlement he has. And then I remind him that he only takes cases that he can win. All right? So he doesn't talk about, where am I going with that? When you choose, and then I say to him, and on top of it, you get to come watch us play and evaluate us and have all the answers as a hotshot lawyer, but I don't get to go into court and watch you play. So where am I going with this? You're asking me about bright spots. You're right, there are bright spots. When we go back and look at the tape, there are going to be bright spots. There's going to be some possessions where we did some things very well, and there's going to be some possessions when players, I thought Deja Church had great live rhythm to her when the game started. I mean, that's a bright spot. But at the end, our jobs is to come up with a score, and we didn't get the score. So it's really hard to find bright spots right at this moment. All right, so again, Church was ready to play, but we had a timeout late in the game in which I asked for the team to get paint touch before they let the three go. We came out of timeout, and two people took threes without the ball ever touching the paint. Look, I'm the nicest guy. I'm not. Forget the nice thing. I believe in how we play basketball. All right, we play basketball the way we play basketball because I believe this is a good way and best way to play basketball. That greenest green light's coming from me. All right, from me, the head coach. They got the greenest green light in America. All right, but when you're in a timeout and you say we need to pay touch before we take a three, and then they come out of the timeout and jack a three. All right, basically, I don't think that's a very bright spot. All right, that's basically your actions speaking so loudly I can't hear your words, and you tell me what those actions spoke to me. So that's, you're asking me to find bright spots. I mean, again, Nisi Moral's energy. I don't know. I don't know where the bright spots are right now. Go ahead.
So Creighton outscored you guys 32-0 in bench points. I'm just wondering how much you think that fresh bodies and depth by Creighton helped them, and then what can you do to get more of your reserves?
Well, there's Morgan Malley's one of the best players on their team, and she doesn't start, and he brings her off the bench. So, that's one of their best three players, number 30. All right, so I would use our bench more if I felt like I could use our bench more, Patricia. All right, the play of the bench comes from what you do every single day in practice. All right, you watched our people off the bench tonight that did play. All right, and I'm not going to start talking about individual players right now, but you see what I see. All right, so we're just supposed to play people. It ain't Little League. All right, you don't get your 10 minutes a half because you pay for AAU ball. All right, it's you got to earn your time on when you're. And Kiara Collier's earned her time. We obviously missed Jordan. I don't want to start making excuses about people not here. Who cares? Nobody cares. So I'm not going to go there. But you're asking me about putting more people in. All right. Basically, if I felt like they could, I put some people in, and you watched what I watched. All right. So if you're saying that player, and again, I love you all, and you know that. You've been around me a long time, so I don't get in fights with you all about anything. So I don't want to come off irritated at the question because it's a really good question. And if I felt like the people on our bench could give us more beneficial minutes, I'd give it to them. All right? I wouldn't give it to them. Nobody gives you anything. They would earn those minutes. All right? But you also got to knock down a point-blank shot when you get one in your 5-minute stint. We could have used that too. I mean, again, that sounds like I'm coming after a single player. But one of the players off the bench had a gimme that didn't go in. I mean, you got to make that. And you got to be ready to make that. And you can't get confused and you get your time, you better be ready. And so if I had places to go, I'd be going there. Let me just say it to you that way.
Do you feel that Creighton really benefited from having a deep rotation like that, just in terms of like fresh bodies?
Trish, obviously they benefited from it. They beat us. All right? So, absolutely, they beat us. Yes, they benefited by having fresh bodies.
If you can look ahead, I know it's 48 hours, it's not on your mind right now.
26, Dave.
Oh, you're right. Providence lost to Marquette tonight by 2. What sort of problems having already played
we
them?
beat Providence by 20 at their gym without their best player. They didn't have Janae Crooms, so Ed Cooley's a great guy, great friend, and Crooms is his cousin. I don't know why it took 2 schools for her to show up at Providence, but it took her 2 schools before she got to Providence. So Crooms didn't play against us the first time. All right, Crooms had 26 or 27 last week against UConn a week ago Sunday. So that's going to present a problem for us that we didn't have the first time. Kylie Shepard, their freshman, had 20 on us the first time we played them. I've been saying all along, I think Providence belongs in the mix here. They have a really good lineup. Baskerville and Gary are 2 really strong interior players. And Kylie Shepard, their new freshman, is really good. Janae Crooms is really good, and they have enough other guard play to put on the floor that melts it together. So we're going to have our hands full with a very good Providence team that, again, we didn't have to deal with Crooms the first time out. So it's going to be a challenge for sure. Thanks you all for covering women's hoops. I can't thank you enough for it. And Trish, this is probably the testiest you've seen me, I think. But again, I really do appreciate your questions. I really do appreciate you being here, and I really can't thank you enough for covering women's hoops. It's our job to do what we're supposed to do, and when we did it, it's not your fault for asking questions. They're great questions. I do really value the fact that you're here and covering women's sports. It's really important to us, so thank you very, very much. I didn't really feel like the players should be here tonight, so usually I'm very free with my players, but tonight I just didn't feel like it was the time for them to be talking to the media. All right, we got to get in the reflection pond right now. So thanks everybody for covering women's hoops.